we go. Another Saturday night. Thankfully, Saturday night is here again. All right, let's see. We got a few people coming in. Welcome, one and all. Hello, hello. All right, let's see. Okay, it is Yoddah Live. And today is July 26th, 2025. A Saturday night in the middle of the summer. Warm and humid in the Northeast. I suspect it's probably something like that by you as well. Weather's boring, but why not? Oh, we've got Bob Hope in the house. Interesting. Charles Marshall, hello. We are just getting started. Settle in. Let's see if we can get this Saturday chill going. Remember to like and share the live. All right. All right, we are cooking with gas. Got Melanie here. Mr. T. I was wondering where you were. I'm guessing you're a different Mr. T, but that's okay. It's good that you're here. Tonight, who knows what we're going to talk about? Saturdays are open-ended. Saturdays are dedicated to being relaxed and chilled and doing kind of whatever, talking about whatever topic. It's going to be hard to avoid politics because this was, again, just a wild week, especially since in the middle of all the stuff that was going on, they just wrecked life in America even more. Hello, Randy. Good to see you. Apparently got this new thing passed where, like, being an employee is now, like, a thing of the past. Thank you, Randy. Yeah, I only saw a couple of posts about it. I didn't read about it because it just depressed me to think about it. Like, now you're being robbed of, like, the ability to be a full-time employee. Like, employers will be able to classify pretty much everybody as contractors, and that way they don't have to give you benefits and stuff. It's nuts. It's not the way life in America was reported to be. We're supposed to be better than other countries. We're supposed to be the best, the greatest. And yet, living here, we're getting treated more and more like cattle every day. So bizarre. I kind of want to look up the lyrics to War Pigs because it feels that way. Patricia, good afternoon. So you must be in somewhere in, I don't know where you would be that it would be afternoon. Maybe Australia, that part of the world? what part of the world are you coming from, Patricia, where it's afternoon? I know in Australia it's about 12 noon on Sunday right now. Randy, more freedoms in the 70s, and it depends on who you were. Remember, it wasn't until like about 74 and like around there, 74 through 76, that women could even have their own bank accounts. I'm having pronoun trouble today. Um, oh, 7 p.m. Okay, that's afternoon to you. Okay, cool. Wanted to make sure. That would be evening to me, but I guess it doesn't matter what you call it. It's just 7 p.m. in Arizona. So good. Hello from Arizona, or to Arizona. I'm not in Arizona. Oh man. I'm looking up the lyrics of War Pigs. I heard a young lady sing it on TikTok today, and it sounded amazing. And it sounded, unfortunately, very similar to what's going on now. Randy says, I mean, civil rights were more important to everyone. Now people just smile and walk on. I'm not sure how those two thoughts are connected, the smile and walk on part, but the interesting thing is that when you talk to MAGA hats, they'll say that civil rights is important to them, but what they mean is civil rights for who they want to have rights, right? Which is counterintuitive, but that's how they think, and that's not even conjecture at this point. We saw the 20 people that Mehdi Hassan faced off against in the Jubilee video, and like we can't pretend that we didn't see what we saw. These were essentially 20 people saying different forms of fascism is good as long as we're the fascists, you know? Yeah, Randy, it's so hard to get a full thought across on the chat. If you want to come up and talk more about that, feel free. But it's I always find it being frustrating, being in the chat, because depending, like now there's not a lot of people here, so like the 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 comments are easy to track, but as more and more people come in, like when you get to 100 people, the comments just start flying by, and it's nearly impossible to keep up with them. At least it is for me. Um, like I know when I'm on a very big live show, and by very big, we're talking about 10,000 or more people. Like you're just commenting to comment because the host is not going to read it. There's so little chance that the host is going to even see your comment because it's just ripping up the screen, you know. So it is what it is. But aside from that, aside from the host reading comments, even you hear something that the host says and you want to comment on it, and by the time you type it out and you're limited to a certain amount of characters, then you might, by the time you get that all together, like how do I want to say this in the limited characters that I have, and then you hit enter, the host is likely already on to something else. It's a it's a weird thing. That's why I always prefer being on the panel, coming up and just having a conversation with the host and the other panelists, and that way it's a lot easier to get my thoughts across and get real-time feedback. Daisy wants to know they can come in. Sure, Daisy, I will invite you in. That is, I'm done, Daisy. So, Daisy, I sent the invitation out. So, don't know why you're not in yet, but you did ask to come in. Did invite you. So let's see what's going on. Daisy's not here yet for some reason. And Vex Edits keeps saying the same stuff every time they come on alive. Dump can't stop winning. Yeah, but you know what you don't understand, because you're obviously a cult member, is that when Dump wins, you lose. So you might be right, although it doesn't seem to be the case. He seems to be losing in all of his trade deals. But if you think he's winning, why do you think what do you think is happening to you? What do you think is happening to your life? Hello, Julian. How you doing? You spelled my name incorrectly, but that might mean that you are speaking into the phone instead of typing it. Um, that's all right too. Uh, so, you know, Vex Vex is making bank. Oh, yeah, there you go. That's so good. Oh, you're you're doing well, so that means screw everybody else that's not, right? Screw everybody else that's losing their business because of tariffs. Screw everybody else that's, experiencing hardship. As long as you're doing well, that's all that matters, right, Vex? Sealed border. That's hilarious. That's absolutely hilarious. Oh, Vex. Hey, you're saying Biden was great. Is that what you really think, or do you think sarcasm comes across in texts? Usually someone that's this much of a sycophant for Dump and swinging from his nuts cult member, propaganda parrot as you are, generally doesn't think Biden was great. So I love when they say he sealed the border. That's so funny. Julian says it's all about white tea supremacy. That seems to be one of the main driving forces behind all this. Although I think for Dump that is a secondary consideration. I don't know, because I'm not in his addled mind, but I don't think that's a primary driving force for Dump. I think power and money, not necessarily in that order. Oh, Gator. Gator proving that he's part of the cult by saying Dump is your daddy. That's adorable. What does it feel like to be an adult and referring to a man as daddy that's not your actual father? What's that feel like? Does that feel weird? Feels weird to me, especially if you're an adult man. I think that's really weird, because that's how you think about Dump, obviously. If you think that about me, that Dump is my daddy, that's clearly how you think of him for you. So Dump is your daddy. How humiliating. But I think that's part of the MAGA psychology. All right. Just sending a note out to my buddy. So let's see. Oh, Ronnie says, MAGA. MAGA. I'm part of MAGA. I vote against my best interest. MAGA. I'm swigging from the sack of a wannabe dictator because I'm MAGA. MAGA. I'm imitating you, Ronnie. That's how I imagine. Uh, Vex Edit says this guy is a music teacher. I'm out. I don't know what that means. Is that some kind of weird MAGA hat insult? Well, I don't even care. You're definitely out. I'm tired of seeing you parroting propaganda on here. Randy says, I'm a poor man, but I have integrity. Yeah, well, you know, that's the thing about integrity. If there's a price for it, you don't actually have it, right? And I can't I can't say I'm poor. I can say I'm broke. But, you know, I was poor for a lot of my life. I definitely know how that feels. And yeah, your poverty level has nothing to do with your integrity, right? That's about who you are as a person, and that integrity is going to be there whatever your income level is, because integrity is not based on anything from outside of you. Hello, Blue. Um, Danny let me know a while back that he had a full day today and was likely not going to stop by, so he will be missed. I'm so used to Danny being a part of literally every day of my life. So it's always odd when he's not here, but I know that he had a very busy day today, and I encourage him to rest and relax this evening. I hope he's on his lounge, watching TV, nodding out, chilling, doing the good stuff that Saturdays are meant for. Blue, if you'd like to come up, feel free. If anyone, Randy, if you want to come up, feel free. I think you've said in the past perhaps you prefer the chat, which I definitely understand. Um, but anyway, there are 7 of us in here, so let's tap the screen, make that happen. Tap, tap, tap. Let TikTok know. You know, apparently after 1,000, you start to register on TikTok's radar. Give me just a bit. I'm moving clothes from wash to dryer. Well, that definitely takes priority to any goofy stuff I have to say. Can't leave damp clothes in the wash. That's a recipe for disaster. So I am with you. I have not had my own washer and dryer since, let's see. I mean, I've never actually owned a washer and dryer since I've never owned a home. But when I was a child, up until age 11, I'm sorry, no, up until age 20, I I lived in my mother's house and used her. Blue says, knowing me, I'll lose the phone in the dryer. Well, I think that I think that's more of a misplacement than losing it. I think it'd be hard to literally lose the phone in the dryer. You can misplace your phone in the dryer. I could see that happening. I've laughed at myself at all the places where I find my phone. Um, there was an organizational expert. Her whole business was teaching people how to organize. Haven't checked in on her in a while. Yeah, the fridge was the best. Yeah, I did that once too. I was holding two things. One of them was meant for the fridge. The other one was meant for my hand, which was the phone. And the phone lost out and went into the fridge for a few seconds. um, because now the way we are oriented to our phones, and I feel pretty confident speaking about all of us rather than just myself in this, because it seems like a universal thing now that our phones are with us all the time now, you know. And I'm not going to say whether that's a bad or good thing. I think it depends on how you use it, so that becomes very individual, but they are ubiquitous in our lives. Like, I don't go anywhere without the phone. Some people take the phone into the shower. I think that's verging on obsessive, but I don't do that. But, I will have the phone in the bathroom and play it on a Bluetooth speaker while I'm in the shower, because I do like music or sometimes a podcast while I'm in the shower. Music is my first choice. I love to sing in the shower. So, but yeah, our phones are with us just all the time, you know. Like, I remember that a couple of women made note of the fact that they never saw me reach for my cell phone when I was on a date with them. Because that was one of the things. I mean, talk about a low bar, but that was something that women noted that they noticed about me, which is I never reach for my cell phone when I'm on a date with a woman, because I think that's crazy. I think that's so rude. Like, I don't, but I think a lot of people are not good at dating. I'm not going to say most people. I can't quantify it at all, but from the feedback that I've heard, um, some people are just not good at dating, men and women alike. I think women are not good on dating sites. I don't think that's their forte, but I know men definitely are not good on dating sites sometimes. I've only seen one male profile, but it was a disaster. He didn't understand what he was doing at all. I fixed it, and a year and a half later, he was married with a child, so it worked. But um, but that was interesting to see. The way that women go wrong is that I can't read their minds, obviously, but it seems like they don't understand that they're there to make a good impression, a good first impression on someone. Because I would say about half of the profiles that I read, and I haven't read any in months, but um, they start off with women talking about what they don't want. I'm not here for games. I'm not here. If you don't have this, if you don't have that, don't talk to me. Like, just a weird, defensive, obnoxious approach. And I'm like, you're trying to get people to like you, right? You understand that, right? You understand that your looks are not enough for that, especially as we get older. Let's face it, human beings don't age like wine, they age like fruit. Okay. Um, which reminds me, I saw something very touching. Uh, Someone did one of those forever young things with Ozzy, it started off with him. I think he was according to the caption, it was right just weeks before he expired. Um, they show him in a wheelchair at the Birmingham concert, as he arrived for that. And so they said, they showed him 76 years old, and they went backwards through time using AI to animate photos of him through the ages, and they went all the way down, I think, to like 17 or 19, something like that. And, of course, he was a young, dashing man and, forming his first band full of promise and all that stuff. So that was very touching to see. Let's see. It's a quiet night. I kind of had a feeling it would be, but I'm glad that everybody's here. Who else is here? We've got Tammy. Welcome back. We've got Carl, Robert, Felix. We said hello to Julian and Randy already. Hello, everybody. Keep tapping that screen. That's the way we make noise for TikTok. Show that we're here, that we like the conversation or at least support the live. Hopefully, both. Hope all is well, Tammy. Thank you for being here. Um, yeah, so let me see. Let me see if I can. Oh, and Tammy, you reminded me. Yeah, please share the live. Yeah, Randy. Yeah, it's a lot of reasons. I mean, one being Saturday. People, it's Saturday in the summer. People generally want to be out and about, you know, maybe getting a little schmexual healing, all that good stuff. Just chilling out, taking a break from TikTok. So I usually anticipate that Saturday is a little quieter, but that's okay. Quiet conversations are good. I uh I don't need to have a big crowd. I actually when I first started going live, it was way before I was on TikTok. I went live through this app called Wisdom, and the first bunch of them that I did just myself, just just speaking. So I don't need a crowd at all. I could just keep talking. Yes, you can tell, right? By Schmexual Healing, that's a total Marvin Gaye reference. What a shame about the way he left us. But let me tell you, if you go back to that album, um, with that song, like I think that was 1971. Like that album had just bangers on it. I think What's Going On is on that album. Like just and What's Going On is like talk about a song that's still relevant today. I might look at that one too, but so let's look at the lyrics of War Pigs, because before I get into it, um, one of the big differences when you analyze music now in 2025, say versus 50 years ago, 1975, because I've actually seen this analysis done. There's a few YouTube videos that broke down the reason why music is far less high quality, and I'm being generous, far less high quality than it was before. There are scientific reasons for it, which is the music itself, right? Um, the way music was delivered to people, etc. Like the reproduction of sound is much better now than it ever was because we have high definition. Tammy, thank you for the heart me. Another thing I didn't remind you all of, so do that heart me thing somewhere above my head. It's in one corner or the other usually. The daily heart me. You get good stuff. You get something like 65 to 85 points as a fan. You can level up your fan game because eventually the fan club is going to mean something. Oh, and Tammy did just that. She celebrated getting a level. Thank you for those gifts. So music. Um, I'm trying to remember. I guess the order doesn't matter, but I'll try to remember all of the elements that they talked about in this video. I saw it a few years ago, and it was really interesting to me because I try not to be nostalgic about anything. I don't like doing that. Oh, music today and kids today. I don't like that vibe. I know for a fact things were not better before, right? So I don't generally feel nostalgia about stuff like that. Like, an old song that I love, sure. An old film that I love, absolutely. An old flame I had, sure. I'll be nostalgic about all that stuff. But like life itself, I generally don't indulge in nostalgia. But the one thing that I kept thinking about was, I don't know, maybe it's my imagination, but I think music kind of sucks right now. And then when I saw this video, it justified my feeling about it. Now, of course, that's confirmation bias, but doesn't mean that my bias is wrong, right? So he talked about the lyrical quality of songs has diminished. Like literally, people use far fewer words in a song than they used to. And when I read War Pigs, you're going to see an example of that, right? Um, like you take a Billy Joel song, just chock full of lyrics. I mean, the man tells immaculate stories because he fleshes them out completely through lyrics, right? And now you'll see like one verse repeated over and over again, or maybe two verses at the most. You might get a verse and a chorus, and that's it. Many songs are just a verse and a chorus, maybe two verses. That's it. And then they repeat the chorus after the second verse, you know. But that quality has diminished. The complexity of the lyrics has diminished, right? So their lyrics are just literally simpler now than they used to be. And musically, they're using less notes. They're using fewer chords, right? So strong sucks. Let me try that again in English. Song structure has diminished, right? Fewer or a smaller variety, a reduced variety, maybe is a better way to say it. A reduced variety of notes, a reduced variety of chords, sometimes a reduced number of chords. Very often that's the case. You'll hear two or three chords for a whole song, which, in the early days of rock and roll, that was pretty typical, right? Three chords and an almost in tune guitar, and you could play rock and roll. But the complex songs are the songs that we love the most, especially if we go back 50 years. Like to me, the 70s are just completely unchallenged as a musical decade. I I'm having trouble talking, so let me take a sip. And when I look at the quality of songs from the 70s and the quality of songs now, to me it's obvious. Hello Blue, how you doing?
Hey Yoda, how you doing?
I'm excellent. Happy to be alive another day. I was very sloth-like today. Didn't do much. Actually, I think I created a couple of clips from Thursday's
Hmm.
show since that was chock full of excitement. And I took last night off, but I did create a couple of clips from that show, so that counts as something. I was a little bit productive. How about you?
Well, we are in Mercury retrograde, so there's nothing wrong listening to your body, and whether you believe in that kind of stuff or not.
I
Probably
don't.
not.
I do believe in listening to my body. I don't care about the rest, but whatever floats your boat.
Uh, Things are good. I was multitasking and listening to what you're saying about Ozzy Osbourne. I saw that same video. I think I shared it too. And it was funny because when I first started to see it, I'm so over celebrities. I don't know if it's an age thing or if it's an awakeness to the control and a lot of other things that I've just been thinking about lately. But I flipped back up and was like, it was the song, and it was the regression of his age from older to younger. And I thought to myself, you know, you love that music and it got you through not necessarily tough times, but throughout your life as you changed and you grew and whatever, it was entertaining. It was a positive angle or aspect from a musical standpoint that we do have in our lives. And I thought that was kind of my nod in a sense to it because the first song I ever learned when I took up electric guitar was Crazy Train. Dun, 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 dun,
Not
dun, dun,
unusual.
And I'm a weird kid. But and
What
then
what
I
do you
thought
what do
about
you think was weird about that?
I shouldn't say weird. I was unique, which is now I wouldn't call it unique. I think it should be normal. But most girls at my age didn't play electric guitar when I picked it up. But nowadays I think that that's changed and hopefully so, I would think. But then it made me think about like my dad and then where I was, and just started to think of memories. And yet you gotta sometimes not be so against the grain of, let's say, celebrities and how it's is today, but be grateful what we did get to have when we were younger. Because I agree with you. Music has changed and it's, I think, strategic. As attention spans get smaller, because we have so much input coming in. We have so much knowledge and so much just from technology alone. I think it's intentional, because the music that tends to be liked is the one that can hold the attention of the viewers, and they shrink up the beats. And so also I am a musician on the side. I've played piano since I was little and acoustic and then electric in my teens. So I feel I have a good reason behind this, but I love older music, and I love all genres of music. And when music was tuned to 432 hertz. I don't know if you
And now it's changed to 440.
Yes, and they changed it to 440. And the thinking behind it was that the earth resonates at a certain frequency. If you add up those numbers, it equals either 3, 6, or 9. And our body, our healthy body, if you're tuned to a thing that measures frequency, it always equals 3, 6, or 9. It's our natural, innate, I don't know, earthly, physical body. And there's peer-reviewed scientific studies on this. And so music was originally 432, and they decided to change it to 440, which equals 8. And what that does is it causes a disharmonious feeling in you so that you feel almost addicted to it or unfinished business. So you want to keep hearing it over and over and over. But it also, because of that disharmonious thing it does physically, people tend to, I don't know, they get that dopamine hit and then it comes back down. But it's actually not the best for humans from a sound frequency perspective. And in fact, John Lennon, when they first changed it in the 60s, he was so PO'd about it that he wrote a song, and he's like, I'm not changing the music. I'm going to stick it to 432. And he wrote Let It Be. And if that doesn't say it to you right there, and he wrote Let It Be in 432 hertz, among many of his other songs, how powerful that song is. And then what music's become today, where it's no longer about the articulation of words and the feeling in the story. It's how many views can I get? How many likes can I get? How many people can I suck into this and grab their short attention spans? And it's not heartless, but it's just I think you and I were blessed because we got to experience some of those older time, even Nirvana, and that was 440, I believe. But even like some of those, 90s musicians and bands were pretty good, but it just feels like it's shrunk. And it doesn't do it for me at all. And I feel like our generation today has done a little bit of a disservice, I think, but maybe it's going to end up being hits that stick around, who knows, in 20, 30 years. But back to the Ozzy Osbourne bit. Yeah, that was sad to see that progression and that he was
Well,
able to be
let's
an entertainer.
let's try to address part of what you said.
I, I unloaded on you a little there.
And that's okay. It's referred to as a gish gallop, but it that's fine by me. I'm very good at keeping track of what people say. So I don't agree with your assessment that this is somehow purposeful and strategic. I think it's just a trend that happens in all societies. I think trends happen, and especially when we're talking about artistic expression, those trends tend to be very wide ranging and far reaching. I don't think there's someone sitting anywhere going, I'm going to make music that appeals to short attention spans. I don't think that's how artists think at all. There are some people, and I think they tend to not be successful. That think about I want to write something that people like, right? What do people want to hear? I don't think that's the best approach to artistic expression. I don't think it's impossible to be successful if you take that approach, but I don't think that that's the approach that most artistic people take. Because an artistic expression, when you hear people talk about their art, it is obviously very precious to them. There's very few people that I've ever heard was like, yeah, I just sing songs to sing songs, or I just write songs to write songs. No. They refer to their work as a piece of them. Some refer to their work as like being children, like every song is like a child of theirs, right? So I don't see those people making some kind of cold calculation based on frequency or based on attention spans, especially since the frequency change happened in the 1800s, right? I don't think there's anyone that's like, oh yeah, I'm going to go back to the old frequency. Some people do it for experimentation, like Sting. Sting delved into like English folk music from like the feudal days, like the 1100s and that kind of stuff, where the lute was big and all of the instruments were man-made materials. But he did that again, he's an artist, so he delves into all aspects of his art, and he's an extraordinarily talented singer-songwriter and musician. Like his bass parts are pretty complicated, and when you hear how complicated they are, and then throw on top of the fact that he has to sing in a completely different rhythm than he's playing the bass, you start to see where his talent is, right? So again, is it possible that there are record executives that are trying to push a formula? We know that that's true, right? We know that a lot of stuff that people hear on the radio, especially in pop radio, is written by two people, right? There are like, I forget their names, but there's two people that are responsible for something like 90% of the music
Right.
on the radio, but the music on the radio is not all of the music that exists. That's actually a very narrow band of music that exists. When you look at all music, you start to see
Mm,
that there are artists out there that are connected to the kind of aesthetic that we saw in the 70s. And I think aesthetic is an appropriate use of terminology because it is a style. It's just a style of music, right? And it's a style of music that lends itself to richness in the music itself, richness in the lyrics, right? But I don't think the change, and this is all conjecture. I can't prove anything that I'm saying. I don't think the change has anything to do with what's strategic, especially when you listen to a Taylor Swift song. Her songs have a lot of lyrics in them, and her songs are in some cases very long. So, and she's hugely popular. So, you know, it's obviously, to me, it's not about like artists decided to cater to short attention spans.
I am going to politely disagree. Um, I think that, I do want to clarify changing the tune is when radio came out. So let's bring that to the, what, 60s? I know it was before that a bit, but I'm talking
Way
musical
before.
radio, like FM, not CDs, not, just straight radio waves. There are the four power chord theory, and you can literally write, and this more or less goes for mainstream, which would be pop, not necessarily what you or I might listen to if we have a wider range, but what you put on the radio, it is tuned that way to either make you reactive, addictive, distracted, or divided. And they pick and they try to keep,
You think when an artist
it's
sits down to write a song, they're saying to
not all.
themselves that I'm going to write in these three buckets?
Oh, no, no, I wouldn't say that. But I think that to make a hit, you have to hit this criteria in the way the music's made. The beat has to be catchy. And there's a lot of science behind the details that go into each song. Do I think you get an anomaly like a Taylor Swift who has wonderful lyrics, but they've mastered the engineering of it to be catchy, and you might not be a fan, and next thing you know every lyric and you're singing along to it when it comes on, at the grocery store. Um, is that deliberate or not? I do think engineers have a scientific intelligence to what songs are going to be hits and what songs aren't, and which ones they're going to
Okay, so
promote
let's
versus which
examine that.
ones
If
they
that were
won't
true, then
promote.
every song would be a hit.
Well, their whole album isn't going to be,
But I'm
but the
saying,
songs
I'm
that
I'm
they
saying if
promote
it's all
will
about
be.
it, here's a formula that we know we can manipulate people through thus and so formula, and we're just going to do that for every song, then it would suggest to me that the logical conclusion of that would be that every song was a hit.
I don't think there's enough people. You do need a variety of different voices and different instruments in order to make the music, or else everyone would make the same and there'd be five songs to choose from. But out of the 12 that you put on your album, I don't even know if that's right these days, they're going to pick the ones that they think are going to be liked, and they usually predict them correctly. And those are the three that they make the money on.
Well,
If
why
that
wouldn't
makes
they
money
why
and
wouldn't they put
people,
all, like,
oh,
if
hang
they're
on, I
if you're
wasn't done.
choosing
I
12
wasn't
songs, why not just make 12 hits?
because you can't.
Why not?
There's got to be fast songs, medium songs, slow songs.
Okay, but why
You
not
go the
make all of
fast
those a hit if
tempo.
it's just a simple
They
formula?
usually are. They usually are.
All of them, all the
Because
songs on an album are hits.
if we could afford a CD, well, I don't, or whatever that people buy now, but if we could afford to spend all of our money on every single artist out there, then we would. But we don't. Minimum wage is
Well, it doesn't
low, and
cost any money
if
to
they can
listen
only
to music.
choose, if they can only choose though, what gets, so if a radio station, if you're listening to Alexa and you pick your genre, they're gonna play the top most popular ones, and those are usually the artists that have the promotion behind it, but also that are the catchiest, or that are, well, that sounds kind of familiar, but it's not, but it
Well,
is.
you've introduced another element though, right? You just talked about the promotion behind it. So that's
Mhm.
a factor too.
But they promote which ones they know are gonna draw in that energy or that attention.
They wouldn't have to do that. Why would you have to promote something that has a guaranteed formula behind it?
Let me think that. Why would they promote? Well, they do they test it. They put it out, and then whichever ones are getting the most hits, they're gonna grab that and push it out. Correct me if
Which
I'm wrong,
doesn't
no?
sound like a guaranteed formula. If they have to test it, it's not guaranteed.
But they can't have the same song for all 12 of their songs, though. So
I
they
didn't
have to have a
I'm not talking about having
variety.
the same song. I'm talking about a formula. If there are
Maybe,
formulas as you suggested, and again, I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm just examining the
oh,
premise.
yeah, this is just my
So
opinion, to be
if
clear.
there's this formula out there that has to do with like, okay, all we have to do is this, and this, and we have a hit song, then who in their right mind would not just do that every time?
Yeah, well, didn't you say that music nowadays is kind of earlier when you started the conversation? Well, that's because
I
that's
said
just,
it was different than it used to be, and I listed the reasons for it. You suggested another reason, so that's why we're talking about it.
I think it's because they're staying within the parameters that have a higher probability, not certainty, but probability of being more liked. And if you've got one artist competing against a million others, they're gonna go with the couple that they know will get more play and make more money and hold their fame or whatever it is that they keeps them going each day. But again, this is my opinion, but there's been quite a bit of, how masses are manipulated by music. It's just it's truth. And the songs that we hear are the ones truly were pushed out, whether it's by elite or execs or just people that have fame. Or if you just think about like someone like Billie Eilish, her and her brother did not abide by those lines. And they came out with something that kind of blew everybody's mind. It opened this another, a different creative pathway because they weren't following that formula. And that made them unique, which is hope, which means we can evolve. But so many nowadays just follow that same thing, and that's why it's so blasé. It's not to say everyone, and again, I'm not speaking on anything really other than mainstream and pop. And even, well, I would even add country to that as well, because a lot of the pop comes from country and vice versa. But I think the stuff that's being fed to kids, there's some intent to it.
I'm not familiar with the concept of music being used to manipulate masses. So what's that
Oh
about?
yeah. It's the same thing back to the four chords, the four power chords. You can play probably 90% of Lady Gaga's record with just four chords, just changing the tempo or the tone or the volume, the speed, the crescendo, the decrescendo, just the whole format of each song. But it's kind of like when you hear an artist, you're like, well, the songs kind of sound the same. And then once in a while, you'll get one. Her first album was very cool. It was more unique. I think she stood out, and that's what got her on the top of that mountain. Now it's maintaining
I
that
mean, I thought it
and
stunk. I
maintaining
think
that.
her only talent was ripping off Madonna, but that's, that's a
Oh,
taste
that's
thing.
true. Yeah, no, I would agree with you on that one. But it was very different when she first came out with that. I can't say that I liked every song. I'm not easily swayed by a certain beat. or maybe it's just not my flavor, but there were a few songs on there that were really, they were beautiful. But again, she was also a writer behind the scenes, an engineer at studios where she could literally dissect a Madonna song, tweak a few different things, and there you go. You and I hear it, but none of the new and younger generation hears it. And she'll take the songs that were so successful from Madonna, even Mariah Carey, which you'll see Ariana
Yeah.
Grande do,
I mean, it
you
doesn't
know,
take talent to rip somebody off.
they mimic. Yeah,
I
they
mean,
take the
sure,
ones that
and
are
and I will say
successful.
this: Lady Gaga, I think, has a very strong voice. Her her range is pretty decent. Um, so it obviously there's a level of talent that you have to deliver the deliverable, right? Which is the performance. But yeah, she stole Madonna's style. There's a few songs that are clearly direct rip-offs of Madonna's songs.
Oh yeah.
So I'm still not hearing the part about manipulating the masses with music because I'm into psychology and I've never heard this concept.
Oh yeah, there it seems to be what works. It's kind of like when you think of Beyonce, she her music is, yeah, if you want to bop around, I guess, with your friends in the car, it's a song to do that. Or if you go to the club in that situation, that it fills those check boxes. But she's kind of mimicking a mix of a couple um, to make her music. And there's a couple songs she has that are fantastic, all single ladies. But I could probably somehow, some way, tie it back. I
Oh
could,
boy.
I could probably tell you like there's gonna be the Harry Styles of the world who Watermelon Sugar. He's trying to mimic like a, I don't know, James Dean Elvis type thing. Like they're all trying to. There's the boys groups, those are were super successful. And it's like I used to like the New Kids on the Block when I was a little kid. And I had my favorite, I like the leader. And that's gonna happen every generation. It's gonna keep because they were successful.
And by the
And that's
way,
it
there is a little
worked
bit of
for
a formula to boy bands,
oh
right?
absolutely.
Now,
The
the
diversity.
formula has to do with what all music has to do with. All most music, because there are some atonal songs out there, but most music revolves around pleasing your ear. And the
Mhm.
human brain processes music differently than it processes the spoken word, right? That's why you can listen to a song over and over again and never get tired of it, but comedians have to come up with new bits all the
Mm,
time, right?
great now. Yeah.
Um, with boy bands, the 5-part harmony is the most pleasing sound to the human ear, which is why almost all boy bands are 5 voices.
Mhm.
Now, that doesn't mean that your boy band is going to be successful just because you have 5 voices. It just means that you're tapping into a successful pattern of
Right.
delivering music to people, right?
Yeah, and if you think like in the 80s, 90s, you had the ballad singers. You had Celine Dion, Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, and even the ones that can hit those quote magic notes, they still stick it down to that boom, that beat. Like if Ariana Grande came out with like a beautiful, well, I mean maybe we've evolved to a different point now. I don't think it's going to come back cyclical, but like a ballad like that, like those how I remember them, and in fact, even they've done a study on Adele, and when she hits a certain note, the way she hits it, people get chills. And the reason they have that physical reaction is that the note is so high, it hits a signal in the brain, which triggers you to go to fight or flight mode, like a warning. And women and men and women,
Yeah,
whenever you
I've
hear,
never had that experience listening to an Adele song
have you ever gotten chills like listening to a song or being live and hearing someone hit a note?
because of the lyrics that are touching me. Sure, I've had emotional reactions to songs, but what you're describing, I've never experienced. And I think
When
Adele
when
is an
when
extraordinarily talented singer, but I've
absolutely.
heard pretty much all of her songs. I've never had that experience. So,
So I
again,
have
so
my
again,
hair
that
will
that
stand
that
up.
suggests that there's this automatic thing that happens to people.
No, there's
Uh,
science on it. So after this live, Google it, and
yeah, I've read a
they've
lot about it, but again, I will read more gladly. But I've just, the idea that a note is going to produce chills in
yeah.
everybody,
Anyone else
I just
listening
don't see it.
ever get goosebumps or chills up your spine when a singer hits the high note? You're like, whoa, or they can hold it really long and the vibrato is just perfect. That's your body responding to the sound and trying to interpret it. And it's hitting it, it's going higher than your natural comfort zone. So you release either, I don't know if it's epinephrine or what's the adrenaline and possibly dopamine, and it causes like a physical reaction because the sound puts you into a fight or flight response. I don't know. But there's a whole sleep study
I
done
think
on it.
you're not sticking the landing on that. The fight or flight thing is when you're losing me. I don't see that as
Where it's the
I've
same
never reacted to
receptors
music
that
that
it
way.
was. I can't really.
I've reacted. I've had emotional responses to music
You ever get
all the time,
goosebumps?
all the time, right? Um,
And it's strictly the
Again,
lyrics?
it depends. To me, it depends on mostly the lyrics for me. That's what's going to move me in music. That's why I love Billy Joel so much because he's a storyteller, right? And when I'm
Mm.
listening to the story that he's telling me, if I connect to that story emotionally, it's the reason why when I got married to my second ex-wife and we decided to have karaoke as part of our celebration at the reception, I sang the song "Shameless" to her because it's a love song about a guy just basically being swept up by the love he feels for a woman. So I love that song. I connect to that song emotionally. Downeaster Alexa is a song that I can barely ever get through without crying because the story that he tells in that song is so meaningful to me. And
So
other
do you
people could
think
hear Downeaster Alexa and not give a fuck.
that's true? Do you think you could ever go to a karaoke bar or have a party and sing to someone, but you can only use music from a certain year in the last 10 years and get that same effect? Which song would you
Absolutely.
pick?
Absolutely.
Really?
Which song would I pick? I'd have to think about that for a while, but there are there are still great artists out there. There are still beautiful, amazing songs out there. Part of what the masses are exposed to, if you're just listening to the radio when you're driving to work, you're going to have a very limited sample size of the music
Exactly.
that's out there. And I mean extremely limited.
And
When
that's
we're talking about
because
top 40, that's an
they're
extremely
fighting.
limited sample size.
Exactly.
You know,
So if you've got
where
40
where you
artists,
find the variety in music is usually at live venues, or if you really spend time looking for like independent artists, things like that. That's where you're going to see how much variety in music there is. But yeah, there are still there's a young woman on TikTok that sings mostly a cappella. Her voice is absolutely stunning and beautiful. And, so she's
and
very
yet
talented,
is she making
so
money?
I
Does she
have
have
no
people's
idea.
attention?
I'm not worried about that. She's
Probably
not
not.
paying my bills, so I don't give a fuck about her money. you
But
know,
my point is
uh,
that she's not done justice because
I don't
they
know.
try
She might be
to get
making a
more
lot of
top
money. I have no
40.
idea.
But my point is, what's her name?
I don't remember.
The case in point. So, um,
Case in what point?
people, if you want to, she's probably more talented than all 40 artists on the top 40 right now. I
Maybe.
could probably guarantee you that in my humble opinion. Not everybody's opinion. Again, this is opinion. Um, and that to me is a shame. And that deters me away from who defines mainstream, or if you put on any station, closest I'll get to today is probably classic rock, and I don't usually go anything past the 80s. And I mean, I'll hear a nostalgic song like TLC or something like that. There's some good ones in there, but far and few and in between. And if they're going to choose it because they want viewers on their station, they're going to pick what's popular and who's paying to get that song out. And it's going to be the same 20 songs or 40 songs. And it does a disservice to truly talented people. And I struggle with that. But that's just my opinion. Again, no, not right. I'm not wrong.
Well,
Just
I
an
mean, a
opinion.
radio station is not obligated to make sure that every artist becomes successful. They're there to make themselves successful.
Right.
So, you know, that's that's why I encourage people, if people, because not everybody responds to music the same way. Some people take it or leave it. I think music is pretty universal, but I've heard a lot of people say, "Yeah, I just don't. I'm not into music." Right? So that there's that. But for people that are into music, I find that they tend to need to go outside of radio to find out what's out there, because you're going to get just a snapshot of the available artists out there. Like, well, I used to love to go into the city and go to Bleecker Street, because like every venue had live music. So you could, as you were walking down Bleecker Street, you could just literally hear, all the different genres of music being played from, because in a tiny area of the village, um, there's like jazz playing at the Blue Note. There's rock on Bleecker Street, country. There's all like, fusion, heavy metal. There's all these different genres of music being represented by artists that, for the most part, are unknown. I used to support some of them by, going to their shows if I really liked them, but you know, they're these are people that likely you might never hear on the radio. They might have a good career. A lot of these unknown artists, unknown doesn't necessarily mean not making money, because a lot of these people are popular in their region, and they just travel around the same like 1 to 3 states where their music is known, and they have a whole career. They've got groupies, they've got a fan base, the only thing they don't have is mainstream media success. Because mainstream media success, although that's the biggest level of success, it's not the only version of success. It's like, for me, like my goal with social media, like I would love to be able to make a living on social media, even though it's a very low percentage play. It is possible, it is doable, but some people think that the only way to make money in social media is have 10 million or more followers, and that's not true. There are tiny YouTube channels out there with barely 100,000 followers that are making their living by just YouTube. They just make YouTube content, and this isn't necessarily music, but they make YouTube content and they make their livelihood. They don't have any other job except YouTube. So just because I don't know who they are doesn't mean they're not successful, financially. It just means they don't have that wide mainstream success.
And I think that's going to change. I think that it's good that you've got a foot in the door. My two things I give people as advice, like I have no intent on how many likes I have, how many gifts I have given. It just is not important to me. I don't care. And the more I don't care and I just speak from my heart, and my intention is if I can help one person, that's a job well done to me. And if you go in with the intention to help people and how, I want to talk about these topics. I want to get people's opinions. I want to get that conversation flowing that people can freely have and do it respectfully. Those lead to somewhere. And I fully support those, which is why you'll always find me on your lives, because I see, and not an end game, but I see it's got purpose. There's purpose behind it. You bring some topic, something that's important, and People can relate to that. And I can always tell when someone flips a switch or their intention is, I want to be famous, or I want to be the most liked, or I want to get more viewers. They forget that well, then that's your intent, is profit. If you have a strategic intent behind what you're doing, whatever it is you're passionate about, you could be passionate about gardens, make gardening videos, and if you love it, people will sense it and you will be making 1 million views. If you just go on to be like, I'm kind of just
Well,
figuring it out,
it's not that
it's
simple,
not
but yeah, I get what
sustainable.
you're
It's
saying.
not sustainable. It's not sustainable. And I think that with AI coming in and taking jobs, and maybe this is a topic for another day, because I'd meant to email you that this idea, a conversation that needs to be had post-labor economics. What that means is that if AI is coming in to take jobs to save manufacturers or whomever money, when the jobs get taken away from us, the intent is supposed to be to give us free space to find out what we're passionate about and put our focus towards it.
Whose intent
But
is that?
that's, well, that's the intent, is to make our lives easier, but it's not turning out that way because there is no post-labor
But
economics.
again,
There's going to be
whose
no
intent
jobs.
is it to make our lives easier?
Who's in, well, that's should be the natural progression of
Oh,
evolution. Let me
well,
reword it that
should
way.
be is irrelevant.
Should, yeah.
But
Well, no, I disagree.
do you think that um well, I just believe that whatever's happening is what should be happening, because like I think the worst advice that you could give anybody is what they should have done, because there's unless you have a time machine, you can't go back and correct anything. But like AI, to me, the intent was always to replace people. And the thing is
To
that
automate.
almost all human progress requires that someone is going to lose out. In the sense of, there used to be a guy that delivered ice. I remember that guy. I saw that guy when I was a child. Okay, in the 60s in Manhattan, I remember seeing the truck pull up and a guy get out and go into the back with these giant tongs and grab a block of ice that was like, it looked like a rectangle, big rectangle, probably weighed 50 pounds or more. And he would grab that and hoist it up and walk into a building and deliver ice to people. Right. And once freezers became ubiquitous with refrigerators, that guy's job went away. There are no ice delivery guys to individual, like there's still like huge restaurants and stuff still get ice and stuff like that, but it's very rare that you'll see an ice truck anymore, right?
But, but
And like
as
when the typewriter uh was prevalent, people had typewriter repair businesses. You don't see those anymore, you know? And so AI, I think, is just another example of that. This it was always meant to replace certain jobs. And to what extent that's going to happen, we still have yet to see. But we already know that, unfortunately, some people have been replaced by AI.
Mhm. I think that, I mean, again, this is maybe a topic for another day because I would love to get who comes on your panel, their take too. I think looking from an outside looking in, and like for example, a lot of the factories in China, they can make a car in 60 seconds, less than that. And it's so automated that they don't even have to have the lights turned on because the robots don't need the light to see. And so they're saving on energy also. Energy costs, labor costs, all of the costs that go into manufacturing. And if we get to that point, I can't think of his name. He wrote a book on it. And he said that the only jobs, if you think future, and it's exponentially growing, AI replacing jobs, automating things. The only jobs that are going to be purposeful, other than things like social media, which brings me back to what we were talking about, will be a plumber and an electrician, those jobs. So if the automation occurs and it's saving people, these, let's call it really wealthy companies, corporations, money, if the people, though, can't afford to buy the products that get manufactured, it's actually going to come full circle and hurt everyone if they don't start thinking about post labor economics. And that brings it to healthcare, food, basic needs, shelter. Because as the jobs start to deplete exponentially, you're going to start to see inversely go down exponentially downward. You're going to see automation go upward. They're thinking about how much they're saving and how much faster they can produce. But if they don't replace what we're supposed to do for income somehow, some way, we're not going to be able to buy their products. And it's going to be a failed system, is my point. And so
That's
things like
possible.
what you're doing right now is smart because you have a leg in the door, because you can influence and have these conversations. And I think the only resolution I see, well, one part of it is being able, the connectedness to each other. We have this, this platform, for example, to be able to learn the knowledge I've learned in the last year is intense. I mean, it's probably more than what I learned in college, and that was 4 years. And it's like the knowledge coming at us, somebody would spend their entire life, if they were born in the 1920s, spend their entire life. We now learn what they learned in their entire lifetime in 1 week. That's how much information, the input coming in. And I think platforms like this and making time that you carve out like this are important to help us manage that data and process it and hear other people's opinions in a respectful, diplomatic, and authentic way. It's going to be helpful. So I kind of
I
went off
think
again on that.
I'd have to look into that idea of like the person in 1920, because there's to me a big difference
It's an
between information and
exaggeration.
knowledge. I don't
That was an
see
exaggeration.
those things to me are not connected. And yeah, look, like think about it like this. Yeah, we're in what we're calling the information age, and I don't
Mhm.
dispute that. But look at how much people don't know about what's going on in their own country right now. And all of the people that are surrounded by so much information and still don't know. So information and knowledge is not the same. So I am not convinced that it's true that we're learning in a week what it would take someone in the 20s to learn their whole lives.
Yeah, I am quoting someone on that, and I'm just not
I don't
versed at the
care.
moment.
I don't care who
But
you're quoting.
where that
It
came,
doesn't mean that I'm going to
and
believe
so
it. You know,
I'm not
I
stating,
have my own thoughts
no,
on it.
I
So
understand
quote
completely.
whoever
I'm
you
not
want.
saying
I might
I'm not stating
disagree.
it as a fact. I think
Yeah.
and not necessarily even an analogy, but the comparison was that that's how much information is coming to us right now,
Yeah,
versus
I don't dispute the
people who
information
have
part.
phones.
I just
Like,
I'm not buying the part about knowledge. Information and knowledge are very separate to me. So, but it does sound like a potentially interesting topic, because I am fascinated with how the brain works, and not from a physiological point of view, although some of the physiological stuff does interest me. It's more from an experiential point of view, like just how we take in information, how we filter information. Because, like, I presume that you drive, right?
yes.
So, for those of us who drive, we are constantly making decisions. Our brain is capable of processing huge chunks of information. And I remember, hey, Traffic Man's here. What's up, Traffic Man? I remember when I was taking driver's ed. So I was 17 years old, right? And uh, there was some discussion about how much information your brain takes in just in one block of driving. You know, all the different assessments that you have to make, all the different decisions that you have to make. And there's things that we take for granted once we get comfortable driving, um, but there's still a real part of the experience. Like the amount of pressure that you're constantly changing just on the gas alone. That's a decision that you're making, right? And your foot is moving constantly. It's not staying in one place for very long. It's constantly you're throttling down, you're throttling up, right? And then while you're doing that, you're paying attention to other cars around you. You have to pay attention to traffic signals, which Traffic Man could tell us all about, right? You're paying attention to the conversation you might be having. You're paying attention to the music you might be listening to. There's all sorts of information, and I'm fascinated by how much information the brain can process in a nanosecond. You know, because I mean, when you're in traffic, you you have to react to other people constantly. You know, do
Well,
I
that's
do
a
I
state
do
of
I stay
motion.
back? Do I accelerate? Do I change lanes? You know, what's this person doing? You know, oh, this person is driving weird. You know, and imagine the amount of information that's going through your brain for that. What's up, Traffic Man? How you doing?
Fantastic night. Sorry, I'm eating some Greek food that I made earlier today.
And you chose to come up for some reason while you're eating. That's interesting. Well,
Well,
uh,
you started talking about traffic signals
yeah,
and stuff,
you.
and
So here's what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to drop you down
hmm,
because I
okay.
don't want to hear your mouth full of food while you talk. Nothing personal. I just find that disgusting. So so I am fascinated with how the human brain works. Um, and that's why, you know, when you brought up this idea of being manipulated by music, that's not something that I've ever heard of in the way that you described it. I've heard of people being tortured using music, but that's completely in a different realm than what you were talking about.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, there's situational alertness where you're in a car and you're driving a machine, so you have to focus on these things in motion. But when you're in your space and home and you're just chilling and you're swiping, let's say, or you spend 3 hours or 4 hours, you look up, next thing you know, it's been 3 4 hours, and how much you're listening, observing, and hopefully critically analyzing as to what your core foundation is and what still feels right and wrong, and trying not to be swayed and to stay neutral and but protect your beliefs. Like we are the input of information, just you and I talking alone. If we didn't have TikTok, what would I be doing right now? What would I be doing the last year? You know, I wouldn't be talking to strangers. I wouldn't be meeting people like this. I wouldn't have this this information. If I were driving in the car and I'm focusing on all those natural things, it's almost kind of like autopilot, no pun, but you're focused and alert, and there are so many things our brain's taking in. But rather than me thinking like, oh, did I put something in the fridge? I'm thinking about what your conversations we talked about last night and where I stand on that. And then I want to look up some things. So I go back home and then I look up those things, and it just spreads this like, our what's fact, what's science, what's like, it spreads this whole opening to the creative side of the brain of information, and wish to fulfill that knowledge almost with facts, behind it, not just an opinion, which you can get a lot of here, clearly.
Yeah. Well, you know, there are some things that have what appear to be bedrock facts behind them, like the sun rises in the east. But then there's other things that you would assume were bedrock facts that people are debating about, like is the earth round? So facts are sometimes hard to
Right.
come by, but and when it comes to humans, again, there are consistencies, there are predictabilities, but there's very few facts about like what a human is and how they operate, which is one of the
Most
things I
definitely.
find fascinating about psychology is that because that's what that delves into. What do we do and why do we do it, and what are the variables that wind up variegating our behavior? And a lot of it is just what Shakespeare said. There is nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Hamlet said that. And
I also
it's one of
believe
the
you.
truest things I've ever heard.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And the other thing is, you don't need to always believe what you think.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of my coaching. I talk about how there's a narration going on in all of our heads.
Hmm.
And that narrative determines a lot of what your experience is. Narratives like, "Oh, you're an idiot. Why'd you do that? You fucking moron." Blah blah blah. And I've asked people very often. I was like, if you spoke to other people the way you speak to yourself, would you have any friends? And usually
Oh,
people
geez.
laugh when they ask that question because they know how critical they are of themselves and how harsh they are when they're judging their own behavior or even thought process. And I think judging your thoughts is a complete waste of time,
Mhm.
right? Like I one time explained it like I remember I had a series of thoughts like most people do, like I'm hungry, what do I want to eat? I think I'm going to go to the mall later. I think I want to end this dude that I hate, right? Now, some people would be like, oh my God, how could you think that way? I was like, because that's what my brain does. It's designed to think. And to me, those three thoughts were all exactly the same because none of them lived in the physical world. They were just thoughts.
Mhm.
So I don't get caught up in the fact that I thought about ending somebody because that person's still walking around because I didn't do it. And that's the important thing. Not that I thought about doing it. Of course I thought about doing it. That's what your brain does, right?
You're also inquisitive. Like, you aren't going to hear something from someone and say, "Oh, okay, that sounds good. I agree." Or, you're
Well,
going
I
to ask
might.
questions.
I might do
And
that,
well,
if
maybe
I
you
do
will if
agree,
you speak on it, or if they can give a solid reason behind it. But you're inquisitive, you're not influenced, and that makes you an influencer
Well, I,
because
I, I think I'm both, right? So I am as susceptible to things as other people are. The only advantage I have in a very specific context is that since I've spent my life understanding the motivations behind what people do, is I'll take a beat. I'll take an extra beat, and that extra beat can be a huge differentiation between how I respond to something versus how someone else would respond to something, right? Like when 9/11 was going on, some people decided to follow the crowd and start walking over the bridges in New York, of which there are many, but the main ones are George Washington Bridge, Verrazano Bridge, Manhattan Bridge, and Queensboro Bridge, now unfortunately called the Ed Koch Bridge, but and the Triborough. So those are the main bridges leading in and out of Manhattan. And some people just followed the crowd of people that were walking and found themselves on a bridge. And I turned to my then fiance and I said, being on a bridge is one of the most vulnerable places to be right now. We don't know if this is still going on. We don't know if another wave of attacks are coming. So why would I be on a bridge? And the only reason I could do that is because I will take a beat and ask, is this the best option? Is this the only option? Number one, that's what you want to, you know, are there other options? And there are almost always other options, right? So what is the other option? What else is possible here? And even though that seems like a tiny thing, it has huge implications, potentially.
Yeah, but you might have more common sense than certain.
I don't believe in
Uh,
common sense at all.
no, you don't. I'm sure
Hold
you
on.
just got
I
told.
agree. I worked with the homeless. Every person I worked with spoke harshly about themselves. That's interesting. That would be a good case study right there, Great Spirit, just to see if there's any common thread um, within the homeless regarding self-esteem. I assume there's not, only because some people become homeless for reasons that are completely out of their control, like dad was the breadwinner and he dropped and now they're homeless. So that has nothing to do with their psychological makeup, obviously. Um, but yeah. Yeah, I don't believe in common sense because if common sense existed, we'd all agree on
Mhm.
pretty much everything. And that's not true. People can't even agree whether America is turning into a fascist country right now. And that's like and there are glaring examples of that happening. And why do some people, let's say, and I don't know what the split is, but to just out of convenience, why is it that half the country sees that happening and the other half of the country doesn't? Where's the common sense there?
Maybe it's uncommon sense nowadays.
I don't think it's nowadays. I don't think it's ever existed. I don't think it's a thing. I think it's words that people came up with as an idea. I just don't think there's any validity to it, nor have I ever. Because again, if back in the old days there was common sense, why weren't minorities allowed to vote until
Mhm.
1965?
You're right. Common sense would be like good with no evil, or vice versa.
Or just like, again, people
How you
can't even
define that.
agree that the earth is round.
It's really weird.
And I don't know what percentage of idiots are out there thinking that, but I know that there's too many of them. Right?
It's
Like,
yeah, very
and
interesting.
so I there are things that people are comfortable with and they seem obvious. And so Traffic Man says he's done eating. Yeah, come back up, man. I'll invite you up as a show of goodwill.
Okay, thank you.
Yoda, it's
I'm
not just
glad
you.
I'm
Thank you.
glad you're
No more
back.
Can't
chewing.
do
No
it.
more
By the
chewing.
way,
I
I'm
promise.
I'm the I'm the same with people that call me up. I like my best friend knows, don't ever call me while you're eating. It's just
Same.
I find it horrendous.
Well, listen, I apologize,
No
and
worries. It
moving
it doesn't make
forward,
you a bad
I will.
person. No harm, no
Okay.
foul. That's just my own standard, and I'm willing to speak up about it. But how are you doing this evening?
There you go. I'm doing
Yeah.
fantastic, as a matter of fact. I will tell you, to your question about how many people in America think that the world is flat. Unfortunately, a 2022 study in the United States found that 10% of Americans have some sort of leaning towards the
Yeah,
fact that the Earth is flat,
yeah, and
and
that's nine
it's
point nine percent too many,
hmm
right?
yeah,
That's my
and
opinion. Like it's the same as like people that believe in the Noah's Ark story and all that other stuff. It's like and again, I wouldn't care about people's beliefs at all if some of the results of those beliefs weren't so destructive. Hi Zaza, how you doing?
yes.
Hi, my friend. I am doing well. How are you?
I'm excellent. Um, and
Awesome.
so yeah, like George Carlin, there's a clip of him talking about how like 67% of people believe in angels and 50% of people believe that Elvis is still alive, things like that. So when you see stuff like that, and some of it seems cute and harmless, but at the same time, it kind of belies the idea that there's this thing called common sense. Because like if you tell me you believe
Yes.
in an angel, it's like you believe in angels. I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm not gonna say you're wrong, but I'm gonna be like, yeah, where's the common sense here?
Correct. You know, and I will say that the phrase "common sense" seems that it's uh, throughout the years is just been taken to have some
I
sort
don't
of
think it
meaning, and
exists.
it
I
has no
literally
meaning.
don't think
Oh shit!
it's a thing. I really don't. Like I
When
don't see any evidence of it throughout history. I don't see
Right.
this thing of common sense throughout history. And maybe it's because I'm looking at it in a specific way. I don't know, but I can't connect to the idea that common sense is a real thing.
Well, and
Like
as you said,
why doesn't every state in America have the same age of consent?
that would be considered common sense. Am I not right? You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. You know, and I think that's why it's important that we kind of beat this down because I mean, at this point, common sense to me, common sense is the same thing as you said. Like, oh, is the Earth flat? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, no, we don't have common sense. If we had common sense, Trump wouldn't be in office.
Yeah. Yeah.
I seriously.
Because people would be like, "Hey, maybe it's not a good idea to
Yeah.
put a carnival barker with no governmental experience or military experience in office." Like he's literally the only president of America that didn't have either military or governmental experience beforehand.
Exactly. You know, the
Seems like a
understanding that
simple idea to me, but
I
77
mean,
million people disagree with me. And that's the interesting thing too, because based on psychology, every person in the world can believe in something except one person, and that one person can still be right about not believing what everybody else believes.
exactly.
So just because 77 million people voted him in doesn't mean that they're right.
Yeah. Seeing the I guess seeing the with this whole situation with him, especially the second time, just the ignorance of Americans put on display for the entire world to see.
Yeah.
It's frustrating to say the least.
Danny, I didn't expect to see you this evening. How you doing?
Well, I woke up from my power nap and I saw you were on, so at least I thought I
Excellent.
better get in the last 15 minutes of your show.
Yeah. Yeah, time has flown by. I didn't even realize we already an hour and 40 in. That's because I
Yeah.
have wonderful people on my panel giving me some great feedback and information and conversation. So, Zaza, what anything particular on your mind, or any feedback over what you've heard so far?
Um, well, I literally just entered in, but if we're talking about Donald Trump, I mean, I think it's just a matter of time. I mean, I heard that I don't know if it was the House or the Senate part went back in and they attempted to do, I don't know what they attempted to do exactly, make a bill or something like that after everyone after they did recess. They try to sneak it in late at night. I tried to find the source, but I forgot what it entailed.
I think what you're
But I
referring
was
to
like,
is the subpoenaing of the files.
no, this was after that.
No, no, this actually is exactly what you just described.
Oh,
After people
okay.
went on recess, then a handful of Democrats stayed behind, and because they had whatever magic number of people that they were able to have, they did call a vote to subpoena the files, and it
Oh.
passed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, when you said a matter of time, I immediately thought of a quote from Chuck Palahniuk, who is the author of Fight Club. And I think this is one of the things that Darden said. which is, and I have to change it for TikTok purposes, but judged along a long enough timeline, everyone unalives in the end, right? So I love that quote
Yeah.
because Father Time is undefeated, and I'd love it if Father Time would reclaim Donnie Dump, but unfortunately, even if that happens, even if Dump lives another 79 years and goes to jail or whatever, unfortunately, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. And America might be irreparably broken.
I mean, it's going to be at least 20, 30 years before, if we do seem to head into a direction of progress,
Yeah,
it's going to be a long time.
I don't.
that's a big assumption at this point because history tells us that there are countries that go down the authoritarian slash fascist slash dictator path and never recover.
Right. I'm hoping that given, and I know this may sound, um
I know you're going to
what's the
say
word I'm
something
looking for?
patriotic. Go ahead.
Well,
Well,
yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah, correct. Yeah, but I mean, I hope
We're
that with
America.
the status of our,
Arr.
right. Well, I'm hoping, what I mean to say is, I'm hoping that with where we are in the world today, that maybe, given our position in the world, that we can recover from
We
this
are being
in a better
abandoned,
way.
my
And
friend. We are
I
being
know it
abandoned.
so
Countries are forming coalitions for the express purpose of
against
cutting
us,
us out of the
correct.
picture. So, what
And
fucking position
I
are you talking about?
I guess it's that fun little world word hope, that I
And
hope
hey,
that
I would never
there's
dissuade
something,
you
you know
from
what I
hope.
mean?
Like, love and
Yes.
hope are cheap. And so, hey, have all of it
Right,
that you want,
exactly.
right? But
Exactly.
yeah, I probably have taken the part of me that has hope and slowly smothered it so it just doesn't exist anymore.
I
But
understand.
um I still, the fact that I'm sitting here in front of you now is antithetical to what I just said, because this is part of my hopefulness, right?
Sure.
But in terms
Yep.
of like discussing what's possible in a world that allows Donnie Dump to even be a thing, that's where my cynicism tends to take over.
And that it makes sense. It's unfortunate that it has to be that, it has to be that way, but I mean, that's the world we live in,
Yeah, and
you
I
know?
recognize what a downer it is. Like there are people that are like, "Well, what about this? And why can't we do this? And let's get together and solve this problem." And I'm like,
Right.
"Eh."
It's not going to happen.
you know,
Yep.
and I hate to be like
Yep.
that, but it's just how I've decided to be. It's probably a form of self-protection. Just like be
Sure.
disappointed ahead of time and then be surprised if anything good happens.
yeah,
Right,
that's
right.
basically how I'm living right now.
There's a Billy Joel lyric that perfectly encapsulates this because there's always a Billy Joel lyric, folks. Always. In the song Innocent Man, he says, "Some people find that it's easier to hate than to wait anymore."
Yeah.
So that's what I just
Yeah.
described. I described like, let's shut that hope shit down because that's easier than being disappointed when people do fucked up things.
Yeah. And I
And
guess
Rev,
from
by
my
the way, sorry
perspective
to
of
interrupt
things,
you, but Rev, I agree
go
with you
ahead, please.
100%. You must still have love and hope in your heart. I agree with that. Um, I I I am a very sensitive person, and most people never find that out. Only the people closest to me know how sensitive I am. They know how easily I cry. I was talking to Blue earlier and talking about, um, I referenced the song Downeaster Alexa by Billy Joel. And it's like literally, I was, a few months ago, I was testing out the idea of doing music reviews on YouTube. And it's tricky because of the copyright shit, but I was just playing with the format, like how's the screen going to look and all that. So I didn't even turn my lights on, but I filmed myself and I was like, oh, what song should I review? And it's almost always going to be a Billy Joel song. And I chose the Downeaster Alexa. And even while I was sitting there, knowing that this was just practice and knowing that I was just working out the technical shit, while I went through the song talking about it, I started crying. You know, maybe one day I'll share that video. I don't know. It's since the lights weren't on, it doesn't look particularly good, but, you know, technologically, I might still be able to light it. But I'll have to spend money to do that, and I'm not really into doing that. Um, you know, so there is this, you know, a lot of love in my heart, and I'm a sensitive person. And so I think I have a tendency to do what most people do when they're sensitive, and that is protect the sensitivity, you know, and
Right.
and cynicism is a great way to do that.
I mean, listen, you know, I grew up in a world where uh, the 1990s, especially for somebody like myself, the 1990s were very promising. You know, everybody was talking about, you know, you go to college and you get a good job and you'll have this house and blah, 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 and all that stuff. And then George Bush became president. And it was like from like 2000 on, it's just been disappointment after disappointment, whatever the world event may be, to the point where, I mean, listen, I'm going to be honest. Tomorrow, there could be some world shattering event. And I'm probably just going to be like, eh,
Yeah,
you know,
that's desensitizing yourself because again, you know,
right.
it is a form of self-protection. Like you don't want to go through the world just being upset all the time.
Right.
So, and if that's why I don't watch the news, right? I'm aware of what's going on because if you're connected to social media, chances are you're going to be aware of what's going on. But I purposely don't watch the news because the news is just a sadness machine to me. Like you're just talking about all the most horrible things that are going on. That's what you're feeding me. And really what pisses me off is that when I'm at a doctor's appointment and they have the news on, to me that's the equivalent of visiting the dentist and he's got lollipops on his counter. It's counterintuitive, man, and it's
Yeah.
not supporting health, you know, because
Right.
I believe, and I don't think it even makes sense to say I believe this because I believe it because it's an absolute fact that there's a mind body connection, right? So as Deepak Chopra said when he was asked, you know, why do you believe in the mind body connection? He said, how do you wiggle your finger, right? It's the
Right.
smartest thing he ever said because most of what he says is gibberish, but in my opinion, anyway. So because there's such a strong mind body connection, I don't want to volunteer to pour poison into my own ears. Okay?
Right.
I know I'm being Shakespearean, but too bad. You'll just have to deal with it. Um, and like, I'm not going to turn on a news station knowing that they're just going to pour poison in my ear. They're just going to assault my eyes with horror and sadness, you know? And I think the
Yeah.
Amish have a saying, what you take in through your eyes, you take into your heart. And I believe that. I believe that, you know? And so as cynical as I can be and even more the way I come off, uh, I'm just protecting the sensitive part of me.
And that's good. And I hate to say yeah, I hate to say it like that, but I mean, you have to you have to do that. I mean, you have to make sure that you keep who you are protected, because to allow the evils of everything, the interjection of all, just as you said, like the bad news. I mean, you turn on the 10 o'clock news now, it's this person did a pew pew, there was a robbery here. You know what I mean? There's no like, hey, this group had this wonderful thing that they did for something in your local area,
Right.
and look how wonderful this is.
And by the way,
That's
that
not news,
exists.
because
That does exist on
it does.
Instagram. I follow a channel that is good news only.
Well, but see, that's the thing is, with the majority of people, if like my local news station close to us here in Cleveland's WKYC, which um, but if they were to just go onto a platform that was good news only, I mean, their ratings would fall through the floor, because nobody wants to watch that.
Well,
You know,
let
we've
me give a counter to that idea.
okay.
That's an assumption. When was it ever attempted? How do we know
Well,
people
that's true.
wouldn't watch it if we've never even attempted to deliver that to people? That could wind
And
up being the most popular news show ever.
I will tell you, and my assumption, if you will, is based off of the America's infatuation with the reality television, the
Understood.
drama aspect
But
of things.
again,
You know what I mean?
we've only been fed one version of reality television. By the way,
True.
way before there were the Kardashians, Ozzy did a reality TV show.
Yes.
And
The
that
one
was
that
based,
broke the whole.
but that was not based on negativity,
No,
right? It was just a window into
no, it
Ozzy's
wasn't.
interesting life, and it was hugely popular.
Yes. Oh, I believe me, I caught every episode. I could, because it was great.
Sharon! Right? I mean, it was,
um.
but this is my point, is that just because there's a paradigm that we're familiar with doesn't mean there can't be another paradigm. I truly believe that if a mainstream source with and I say mainstream just for the reach, right? If a mainstream source that had reach into America decided, we're just going to give you the most wonderful, beautiful stories, I have a feeling it would be popular.
I wish, again, and this might be that cynicism we talked about earlier.
And that's
I
okay.
wish that we could do something like that. I
We
wish that
can.
there was,
We can. Someone just
again,
has to decide to do it. But
and
again, think about where we started this. We started with this presupposition of negativity, right? And
right,
it could be a faulty presupposition. It could very
sure,
well be that if you give people, because look, there's on television, there's not just tragedy, right? There's plenty of comedies.
yes,
So clearly, and not just that there are comedies, but they are hugely popular comedy shows. And
right,
then you have the rare few that blend both, like Scrubs.
yes,
Scrubs was an absolutely brilliant
I
show. You could
love
be
Scrubs.
laughing 1 second and crying the next,
pulling your eyes
which
out.
is a
Yes,
testament to
Hmm.
the brilliant writing of that show. And of course, delivered by brilliant actors. Zach Braff's
fun
first
story.
job, as a matter of fact. But go ahead, fun story.
Uh, fun story. There, allegedly, they are bringing Scrubs back. I don't know if you heard this or not.
It'll
There's
probably
talks
fail
right now.
because unless it has the original people, like they even tried that at the end of Scrubs. They did a new show because it was supposed to
Yeah,
end 1 year, and then they wound up tacking on a couple more years, and it was awful
right,
because it wasn't the original crew. It's the same reason why Godfather 3 failed, is because
right,
the consistent uh, composition of the people that made 1 and 2 were gone. Mario Puzo wasn't there, and he consulted on both 1 and 2. And he wrote the book, so obviously he was the best consultant for this, and he wasn't involved in 3. Coincidence that 3 sucks ass? I think not.
Exactly. Well, and I think like Dr. Kelso, he's no longer with us, so that character
That
can
was a
never
huge
be
character.
played by anybody else. Yeah, absolutely.
Huge character.
What was? Oh my goodness, I've the administrator of the hospital. Remember the clunky administrator that would always get into like comedic
Oh,
issues
the
and stuff like
lawyer.
that.
You're talking about the lawyer?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes,
he's
yes.
gone
He's
too.
no
Yeah.
longer with us,
Yeah, yeah.
and so
And I was
yeah,
actually
yeah.
sad
No,
when I heard
I
both
agree.
of them. I was like, "Oh man," because I love that show. I've
Yeah,
rewatched it a couple times because to me it's like good writing is a gem when you can find it because it's not
yes,
prolific, which is where we started this conversation regarding music. But even when you have a guy that is the showrunner, because he also did the showrunner for that Michael J. Fox TV show, something City. Uh,
Family Ties? No,
no,
no.
no, it
Spin
wasn't film.
City.
Spin City. Yes, thank you.
Yep.
He was also the showrunner to that show, and the dialogue in that
Okay.
show was amazing. Right? Unfortunately, he also brought us the. I think it was one of those Real Housewives shows, the one with Courtney Cox in
Okay.
it. What was that
I
called?
gotcha.
Something Wives of Orange
I don't
County or
I don't
something, or
remember.
some shit like that, whatever it was.
I never watched those yet, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
I tried watching one episode. I couldn't get through it, so I was like, "Yeah, this is not for me."
Un un
But he
Unfortunately,
has
the only
more. He
reason
has
I know
way
it,
more hits
yeah.
than misses. I mean, he's anytime he does anything. Like there's a new show that he did uh, with Harrison Ford, Shrunk or Shrinks, something like that, or Shrinking. I think
Okay.
it's called. It's about psychologists, and it's called Shrinking. So that's a phenomenal show too. So you can tell. It's like when you have a professional athletic coach, and every team that he goes to, they win the championship.
Yep.
Like Pat Riley, a good example of that. Like
Yep.
every team he went to, they won the championship. So oh, it ain't the team, it's Pat.
Right.
And it's the
Well,
same with this
good
guy.
example again, Andy Reid. When he was with the Philadelphia Eagles, they won the Super Bowl. Now he's with the Chiefs. They've won 3 Super Bowls. Yeah, absolutely. It's yeah. When it comes down to something like that, yes, it absolutely is the person behind the scenes, if you
And
will,
now
kind
I
of thing.
feel kind of ridiculous not remembering this guy's name. So I'm going to look it up.
Who's that? Andy Reid?
No. Sorry, I don't give a
Oh,
shit
okay,
about
okay,
Andy Reid.
okay.
I'm
No,
talking
you're
about the
okay.
guy
That's fine.
who created Scrubs. So let me find out who that was. But anyway, talk amongst
Bill
yourselves.
Lawrence.
Bill Lawrence, thank you. You saved me the time.
Yep. There you go.
So
Yeah,
someone
I
said
think
something. Teresa says it will be on HBO. What's going to be on HBO? The new Scrubs or something else?
yes, the new Scrubs.
Oh, okay. Oh, on HBO. That'll free it up to be a little bit more raunchy. So that might be interesting.
Yes. And back to what you were talking about with as far as news and trying this the undiscovered country of good news only kind of thing on a massive
Oh, look who's
scale.
being Shakespearean now. Nice.
Sorry. Star Trek 6, man. What was his name? He ended up he was the Klingon. Oh my God, I can't remember his name. He it was just all Shakespeare quotes. Um, I
Interesting.
apologize. I'm nerding out. Anyways, what my issue is the capitalist side of things, the monetary side of things. I mean, I'm worried that the reason that we don't invest in something like this is because the people that are looking to make the money are worried about investing their money into something like into a
Right, but those
project like
people are
that.
just goofy people, right? Like Barack
No,
Obama
yes,
talked about this recently. I saw a clip. I don't know when he said this, but it seemed recent. just by his appearance. He's saying, you know, you get into all these rooms with all these people that are considered so special. And then you realize, oh, they're just regular people. And very often there's nothing special about them. They just happen to be in a circumstance, most of which they inherited. You know, like I talk about this with Donnie Dump. People are convinced that he's amazing. I'm like, his only talent was being ejected from a wealthy man's sack.
Yes.
There's nothing special about
Right.
that. He's actually a below average person. He excels in one area and one area only, and that's he has a high EQ. He knows how to connect with people on an emotional level. That's why Bill Maher, that idiot, had, you know, a meal with him and decided he was wonderful.
Right. Bill, when that had happened, it was I remember the criticism of Bill Maher. It would have been like him visiting with the dictator from the 30s. You know,
Right,
oh
which is
well, he was
the
such
piece
a
that
nice
Larry David
person.
wrote,
Yes,
my
yes,
dinner with
exactly.
Adolf or something like that. Or
Yes,
yeah,
yes. You know,
yeah.
and I mean, and that's exactly right. You know, Christopher Plummer. Sorry, that's who I was speaking of. That
Oh, okay,
quoted Shakespeare as a Klingon in Star Trek Six constantly.
interesting.
So yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I probably saw it since I do like Star Trek, but I don't recall it off the bat. I'll have to watch it again. That's interesting since I love
Okay.
Shakespeare. So
Yes. Star Trek Six: The Undiscovered Country. It was
yeah, I did
the
see it
premise of
a
this.
million years ago.
y-
That came out a
Yes,
while ago,
the
right?
premise. Yeah, I think it was 1991
Oh yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
when it
yeah.
came out. It was the last, motion picture with the original cast, and the
Gotcha.
idea was that the Federation was trying to make a treaty with the Klingons, kind of a thing, and like settle our differences, and like you had some major disaster happen. Let's help you, and a lot. Prejudice was a very big topic in the entire movie. And I mean, it's Star Trek has really always been a reflection on America,
Yeah,
as as far as when it comes to racism, prejudice, all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
And
America and the world, but yeah,
um,
Gene Roddenberry was
yes,
very, very forward thinking when it came to that. As a matter of fact, if I recall correctly, one of the little trivia points for Star Trek is that everyone's a vegetarian in the future.
yes, correct. Meat is not something that is consumed. And if you ever notice in the later series, like Voyager or the Next Generation, nobody's like, "Hey, replicator, make me a steak." You know what I mean? That is not a thing. So yeah, there you go. That's
So
awesome. You knew
Danny,
that.
you had a fun-filled day today. How'd your meeting go this morning? Is your mic on? Still with us, Danny? Yeah, I think you might be muted if you're trying to talk. Do. Nah, send an invite to unmute. So yeah, Danny had a full day today, so I'd be interested in hearing the details of it. But anyway, yeah. So we're
I'm here.
there. You go. So you had a fun packed day today. How'd your meeting go this morning?
Well, since I haven't been president of a state moose legion since 2011, I thought it went pretty good, considering I made a few mistakes, but that's okay. I donated a couple extra bucks here and there for for the children of Moose Heart, so it was all good. But I had a good day with the meeting. There wasn't a high attendance today, unfortunately, but we had a district meeting too, so that kind of brought in a few extra people. So that was good. Everything else was other than getting up at 7 o'clock this morning, and because I hadn't done that in a while,
Yeah.
and tried to get myself going because I had that. They came here at 8 o'clock to pick me up my ride over there. So
Hmm.
over in the Yelm, Washington. So yeah, it was a good day. I took several power naps in the chair. While Grandma was watching a couple of shows, it was good and loud, so it put me right out. So
By the way, I love the fact that guys insist on referring to a nap as a power nap. I remember I teased my best friend about that. I said, "What's different about a regular nap and a power nap?" And he had to laugh because it was like, "Yeah, you're just napping. Just say napping."
We're just napping. Yeah, yeah. It's still 5 minute naps you take. Those are power naps where you just doze off for a few minutes. You're not
Yeah, I
really
call that
sleeping.
passing out. I do that all the time. I'll sit down and watch TV. And it's so funny how often I just wake up like, oh, I'm an hour into this and I only saw 5 minutes.
Yeah. And your neck is like, oh my God, what did I,
Yeah,
that's my problem. My neck, I lean to the left and just over and forward. And I know I've been asleep for quite a while and my neck
yeah.
is trying to move it.
Yeah,
So,
that's why my clock is like so way off. Like I tend to be up all night and I'll go to sleep at like 8 o'clock in the morning,
yeah,
just because I have no schedule now, aside from,
right.
my a couple of obligations that I have for conference calls during the week. So I'm just up at all weird hours all the time. But I'm
And you're
glad
going to
that the
be
meeting went
60.
well, though. That's a good thing. Now, how did it come
Yeah, like,
about that you were called in to do this meeting?
well, last April, we had a nomination meeting at our last Moose Legion meeting. And I was there, obviously, and they were going around to see who's going to be the next, officers of directors of our board, and them president stuff like that. And finally, this guy that had been the president for a year, and I could tell he was in real poor health, worse than I was, and that's because So he went to me and kind of if nobody would have stepped up to be president this year, he would have had to stay in the seat another year until they got somebody to come in.
Gotcha. Good
That's
night, Zaza. Thank you for coming up. Yeah,
so
all
I
right.
ended up so they kept looking. I felt, and I just even the secretary that we have, he looked at me. He says, you want to do it. You haven't done it since you were in Colorado, and you were state president there." So I said, "Okay, I'll do it." So I did it.
There you go. All
So
right.
that was my first meeting. It's every quarter we have meetings, so I still got uh, 3 more meetings for the year. So then I'll be past president again for a whole year. So I'll be sitting in the past president chair for
Gotcha.
you know. So
Well, that's
then
good.
I think I'm gonna retire. Retire. I'm still gonna go to meetings. I'm just gonna. But they ask for volunteers. I'm gonna go. Okay, I volunteer him. I volunteer him.
Right.
It ain't gonna be me.
Yeah, that's sort of, I mean, not quite, but it's sort of in the realm of my experience with one of the anonymous groups, because I
Hmm.
went for 6 years from 87 to 93, and I would only go back for like my friends' anniversaries and stuff. But then as time went on, I just stopped going. So I basically show up every 5 years. Although I might start, now that I'm getting older, I might start making that more frequent.
Yeah.
But right now it's like literally every 5 years, I show up once just to say hi and all that stuff. And it's amazing because there's still a lot of people that I know that keep going. But I stopped going a long time ago. But some people, they're it's like church in that way. It's like they're convinced
Right.
that they always have to go. You know.
Right. Well,
So
I've been in this is the Loyal Order of the Moose, and the Moose Legion is the higher degree of the Moose, and that's why and I've been a member of the Moose since 1998. So I've been there, 27 going on 28 years now. So,
excellent.
uh, but that's the only one I belong to now. I quit the Elks, I quit the Eagles, and I quit the BFW, quit the American Legion. This is the only one I pay dues to, because there for a while I was dues poor, paying out all these dues every year.
Got you.
But next year I'm going to buy my life membership, and I ain't going to have to worry about paying dues every month, every year after that.
Gotcha.
So
And Traffic Man, you said that's like you with the Greek church.
Yeah, when you mentioned about going once every 5 years, just to
I
show
do.
up and be
That's
like, "Oh, hey,
exactly,
how you
yeah.
doing?"
I do
Every year
exactly that.
yep, every year I make sure that I go to our church's festival that we have in the summer to help out as much as I can, because it is what it is. I do want to support the community, but I'm not somebody that makes it a point to go any Sunday, to be honest with you.
Yeah. He does that so he ain't, so they don't think he's the Malacca. He just
That's
doesn't.
right. There you go. Yeah.
He
Uh,
speaks Greek and I speak Greek, so it's
The,
kind of fun
the
doing
Greek's
that.
favorite
Danny,
word. What's up, Malaka?
yeah, what I hear is then then drepesem vresi. So
Yeah, I lived in
uh
Greece for 2 years, so and we started conversing last night a little bit, and it was fun. It was fun.
yep,
So,
As the saying goes, it's all Greek to me.
there you go.
oh, good.
All right, so let's go bottom up. Blue, any final thoughts?
Yes. Yeah, from our earlier conversation, just two key points. One, no one will ever be harder on you than yourself. And knowing that and bringing that to the forefront of your thoughts, give yourself a little grace. Okay, I have it in a little frame actually on my mantle. Give yourself grace when you find yourself beating yourself up in negative thoughts, because you might not be abiding by whatever's engraved in you by whatever religion, society, etc. And the second point is that no one will advocate for you better than yourself. So you can choose to be the hardest you possibly can be than anyone else on yourself, or you can advocate for yourself, elevate yourself, because you will be the best advocate and only you for yourself. So keep your heads up. And again, keep the positive energy in as much as you are probably swiping through the negative, and to give yourself a little bit of grace and space when needed.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sparking great conversation this evening. I always appreciate that. So
Thanks for
have
having me
a
up.
great night.
You too.
Right, Traffic Man. Are
uh
you a fan of Shakespeare by any chance, or was it just coincidence
not
because
not
of
have
the Star Trek
a
film?
coincidence.
Okay.
A coincidence mostly.
But you used it
As
beautifully.
I
You
get
slipped
older,
you
I
slipped in a Shakespeare quote so naturally. I liked it.
see. And so, I guess in the future, I would like to get more into what Shakespeare had to write, and kind of
Well,
divulge
listen, he's
myself into
he's
that
only the
because I think it's
most
important.
famous and prolific writer in world history. So take your time, But I
Yeah,
will
right?
say this: of course, nothing is for everybody. Just because I love Shakespeare doesn't mean that anybody else has to give a fuck. But what I love about Shakespeare, among many things, is that he encapsulated the human experience so completely that what he wrote 400 years ago is still relevant now. Like, even though you'll wrestle with the Elizabethan language a little bit, but if you
Sure.
read one of those like things where they turn it to modern day English, then you'll see that his themes are so complete when he tackles things like jealousy and greed, ambition, betrayal. He covers those things beautifully. Um, Richard III, Othello, Hamlet, and Romeo and Juliet are among my favorite. I still haven't gotten to all of his work, and to counter that, I started recording each one of his 154 sonnets, which is kind of easy in a way because sonnets usually only take about a minute or so to read. But I fell in love with him through a sonnet back when I was a teenager, like maybe 13 years old. And that was the doorway into Shakespeare, but once you start reading Shakespeare, it's really obvious as to why we're still talking about Shakespeare now.
Okay. I will. I mean, listen, with your excellent Godfather suggestion, I take. Listen, I'm gonna. All I'm gonna say is, I take any suggestion from you
Thank
seriously
you. I
because
appreciate
so
that.
far,
And
yeah,
Godfather
absolutely.
2, is that on tap for this weekend?
It is. So the plan was today was to watch Godfather 2. However, my uncle, we made plans with my uncle, who I haven't spoken to in 4 years. It's kind of the Home Alone 1 premise, where the old man with the shovel next door, and the family quit talking. And I promise I'm not going to get emotional when I say this as much as I can. And I came to the decision the other night that I was like, F this. I don't give a shit. I don't care what the family argument is. I haven't seen this man in 4 years. He's my favorite person ever. And so we invited him over for lunch today, and he got to meet my children. Like everything went very well.
That's beautiful.
It I hate to break it down with like Home Alone 1, but like that the ending scene when Kevin McAllister looks out the window and he sees the old man, embracing his grandkids and his son and all that stuff. That's kind of what today was for us. And yeah, so I'm still going to watch The Godfather 2. Don't worry, that is on the docket, absolutely. But just, other things came into play.
I'm definitely not worried because I have no stake in the outcome. But
That's
There
it.
you go. Okay. All right.
I am glad that it's something that you're interested in. And again,
Yes.
look, none of this stuff is necessary. If I recommend anything to anybody, it's just because I like it and I think that there's a chance that they'll like it too, especially if they tell me other things about that they like. And I think, oh, if you like this
Sure.
stuff, there's a chance you might like this other thing too. I'm like Amazon in that way. Hey, you bought this, you might want to buy this
Yeah,
thing,
there you go.
right?
But
So,
but the nice thing about that is with your suggestion, there is exposure to more knowledge. There's more exposure to culture. So absolutely.
yeah. And
I'm
I take
going to
other
make a
people's
valiant effort
recommendations too. And,
to try to
and
agree with
it's
somebody. Yeah.
like I watched Psycho 2 recently because someone suggested it. And all I could say is that I'll never
Hmm.
take another suggestion from that person because that film was a humongous waste of
Oh
time for me,
no.
right? But that's okay.
Oh no.
I'm
Okay.
I'm willing to give
Yeah.
everybody at
Sure.
least one shot unless I have a strong feeling ahead of time that I won't like it. Like, some people will recommend like a horror film to me. Like people are raving about
Right.
Sinners, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to watch it because it's a horror film, and I don't like
Right.
horror films, right? But
Right.
when
I'm in
someone
the
makes
same
a
boat.
recommendation, if I think that there's a shot that I like it, since I loved Psycho, and the reason why he recommended it to me was because I was raving about Psycho, so it was a logical
Right.
recommendation. I just didn't realize what a piece of shit the film was.
Right. 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 Well, real quick, I will say this, and then you're more than welcome to
take
drop me.
take your take your time, man. Air it out.
Back to our topic about cynicism and hope. I agree. Like I said, as somebody who was born in '84, and so much was promised in life, if you will, and just seeing the many facets of that promise not come to fruition, and then it's like it seems like at some point every few years there's some world changing event that this is worse now and this is worse now and this is worse now. I do want to say, regardless of any of that, I still try to maintain hope in my heart, because I look at it as maybe not while I'm on this earth, maybe not while my kids are on this earth, but eventually I hope that we get to some point where the problems that we go through today no longer exist and can be put away. You know what I mean? Finally put to rest, and that we can have a better society throughout the world. So You know.
Yeah, I get that, man. I get that. Thank you for all that. Have an excellent night. Hopefully,
Yep.
we'll talk soon.
You too, sir. Absolutely.
And I neglected to mention this earlier, but I'm doing my first battle tomorrow at 9 p.m. I still don't fully understand what the point of battles are, but apparently it's a good thing to do. It gives, I think the main benefit seems to be the potential to expose you to other people who don't know who you are. So that's 9 tomorrow, Eastern time. It's very quick. There's two battles, and they'll probably be done within 15 minutes. So if anybody wants to join me there, that'd be great. I'll probably post about it tomorrow to recommend to everybody. But as far as Thomas Paine Common Sense, um, Thomas Paine Blue is who I call the original T-Pain, and he was a brilliant writer, and I did enjoy Common Sense. So anyway, Danny, final thoughts.
I'm just waiting for Penelope to start pushing me to go into doing the battles. She hasn't asked me yet or
Well,
suggested I do it
I
to her.
think I don't think that's how it works.
Wasn't
Basically, you just have to decide that you want to do battles.
uh
So, what Penelope did for me is when I had asked about battles, she said she would show me how to do them, and so she did a mock battle with me and showed me how it worked. So if you're interested in
mhm,
that, just let her know you're interested in it, and then
yep.
she'll more than likely suggest the same thing to you.
I have gone into like Melanie's and Meredith's and a few others and helped them out, you
And
know.
I saw that you
Uh,
posted on Discord that you asked about battles, so I'm guessing, did anybody answer you on Discord?
no, no, but
Okay.
I will get back. I
So
will be
what I
getting
would suggest is this, because remember Penelope has over 200 people that she deals with. Send her a PM so on Discord. Just
right.
send her a private message. She always gets back and answers those.
Yeah, she does. But anyway, I will be I'll be back Monday, obviously. So uh I'm sure you'll do a PSA before your show's over for me.
Yeah,
So but
no doubt.
I that's what's going on. Tomorrow I'm gotta do some stuff. My little dog Lucky's gonna be here next weekend.
Oh, nice. Oh, so
With
I'll
my
get to
little
meet
pug.
Lucky, hopefully eventually.
Oh, you will eventually someday.
He'll be here when you come.
Yep.
Uh,
So whenever you get here.
yes, sir. So, so yes, for the folks that are here, please tap on Danny's profile photo right now and follow him if you are not, because you will want to catch his live shows. He now has 3 different types of live shows connected to 2 of his live shows, right? So let me break down the math for you. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We have Monday and Wednesday topical, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, whatever's going on, but with a positive outlook, trying to figure out how to keep things positive, how to maintain a positive outlook, how to find positive solutions to life's challenges, especially in this perilous political landscape. And then on Fridays, same time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to do these amazing trivia games, Trivial Pursuit, so much fun. The only way to understand how much fun it is to be there, either in the chat or on the panel, competing for coins. It's amazing. It's amazing. I love it. I literally look forward to it every week. And on Sunday, starting not tomorrow, but the following Sunday, first Sunday and third Sunday of every month, Danny's going to be talking to vets to help them out with the various needs that they have that they might not necessarily know how to address. And it's a much needed show. I think you're calling it Vet Talks.
That vet talks, yeah.
There you go.
Veterans
Perfect.
helping veterans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So necessary. And it is tragic to say the least. It's tragic, and I think it's actually inhumane what America does to veterans. And especially now, with this completely uncaring regime in office, they are guaranteeing that veterans are going to suffer. And I don't understand why anybody would want to do that, but this regime is doing that. So let's support Danny in that effort. And with that, Danny, have a great night. And I hope to see you at some point tomorrow, if at the very least that few minutes that I'm doing my battles tomorrow. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Vet Talks is going to be at I think it's going to be, you said 12 Pacific?
12 noon Pacific
12
time.
noon Pacific, so 3 p.m. Eastern time. So that's something to keep in mind, that it's a different time than his other lives. So put it on your calendars. It's literally already on mine because I don't want to miss it. So Danny, have a great night. I'll talk to you soon.
You too, my friend. Have a great battle tomorrow, and you can count on me being there. Support
Thank you. Thank you. All right. All right, folks, this wraps up another Yoddah Live. This was great because I purposefully don't pick a topic ahead of time on Saturdays, and just whatever people want to talk about, we talk about. And so far, I have not been disappointed in the slightest. These conversations have been brilliant. I've really enjoyed them. Tonight, Blue did most of the heavy lifting and brought some real heat and real fire to these conversations, brought up great topics, took us in phenomenal directions. So thank you again, Blue, for a job well done. And of course, everyone that comes up on the panel, I'm just amazed every time. Like, you guys really, there's not a topic that I can throw at you or that other panelists can throw at you that throws you off in any way. You guys always have great responses, great ideas. I love it. I rely on it. And again, I could do these all by myself because I'm an experienced public speaker, but it's 100% more fun when other people are involved and, doing the mind meld kind of thing. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for tapping and sharing and gifting and commenting in the chat. I appreciate all of you. And again, I'm here for now, Monday through Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern time. And soon I'm going to be making some changes because I want to start going on Discord for some bonus content to just a limited audience. But until then, Monday through Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern time. So until we see each other again, peace, love, and granola. Have a great night.